And welcome to a special edition of Michigan Matters. We traveled to the Mackinac Conference where leaders gathered to talk about key issues, everything from population growth to energy to education. We cover it all, so pull up a chair and join us as we continue our look at the Mackinac Conference.
From CBS Detroit, this is Michigan Matters with Carol Kane. Michigan Matters is brought to you in part by Cure Auto Insurance.
We start with Dr. Ora Hirsch Pescovitz, president of Oakland University, as she talked about providing more opportunities for young people.
Probably the number one issue at the conference has to be education. And I know there's talking about House on Fire and all these issues. From your standpoint as being president of a major university here, how do you see this issue of education?
Well, I think when you look at the overall issues and you see what people are talking about, the House on Fire, I think we can look at some of the major problems. So we see that, for example, individual income has dropped from us being ranked 18th in 2000 to being ranked 40th in 2024. And when we look at our educational attainment, we've dropped significantly there too. And when you say, what is the cause of all of that? It really has to do with education. And education is part of the answer. So what we're doing here on the island is focused on what is the fix. So when you see the correlation between the economy and the individual prosperity and the state's economy, we know that the solution really is education.
What is, we have some amazing universities and community colleges in our state. We're blessed to have some really strong institutions here. What is Oakland's imprint here?
I think Oakland's imprint is really consequential. And part of the reason is that 95% of our students who graduate stay in Michigan. And they stay and get incredibly high-paying jobs. And in the areas where we have the highest need. So we know that 42 out of the 50 hot jobs in Michigan require a bachelor's degree or higher. And when our students graduate, they get those jobs. And those jobs pay a very high salary. And they're in the most important industries. They're in education, they're in business, they're in the automotive sector, they're in healthcare. And those are the sectors that are going to feed our economy.
How do you see the issue of affordability of college? We've heard so often about young people can't afford college or they can't afford dormitory. And I know recently Mike Bickers, a PNC, endowed a whole scholarship thing to help young people being able to stay in dormitories on the campus. He's an alum of the school.
Yes, and I think that's such an important point because there's a lot of concern about what I call the myth of accessibility and affordability of college. That's largely because a lot of the attention comes to the elite private universities where college tuition can cost upwards of $100,000 a year. That's actually not true for the 70% of America's college students who go to universities like Oakland or any of the public universities in Michigan. 70% of students attend our kind of universities. At Oakland, for example, our students, 60% of them graduate with no debt at all.
That's amazing.
And it really is amazing. And if they do graduate with debt, their average debt is less than $22,000. And because they get such high-paying jobs, they can pay that debt back in less than 18 months. So it's not an issue of affordability.
There's much more to say. Unfortunately, we're out of time here. I want to thank you so much for being here. We'll be talking to you as the school year gets started again here.
Okay.
We're back with Jalen Rose, former Michigan and NBA superstar, impacting Metro Detroit as few others. Back with more from Mackinac Island after this. Jalen Rose has been impacting our region since the standout basketball star attended University of Michigan and excelled as well at the NBA. Today, he's working overtime in Detroit as he helps young people get more opportunities. You predicted on this show a few weeks ago who was going to win the national championship.
To the victors, the Michigan Wolverines.
There we go. You predicted it here, and boy, I wish I could get you predicting on some of these political campaigns that are going on here. Your thoughts about the conference. You're here to talk about the Final Four, which is a huge event coming to Detroit next year. But your thoughts overall about this conference?
This conference is incredible. It represents a lot of business leaders, politicians, movers and shakers, entrepreneurs, people in education and sports and entertainment that really help our city and our state thrive in a lot of ways. And for me to be here amongst so many people who are doing incredible things, not only as entrepreneurs, but as professionals, and so many companies that have invested back into Detroit in particular, I'm just really proud to represent. And for Detroit to be hosting the Final Four next year, it's going to be incredible. Now we need the Duke University treatment, NCAA. Y'all always make sure they have a clear path to get to the Final Four. We need to make sure that Michigan's on one side, Michigan State's on the other side, and the only way that we can meet up is in the championship game. That's what we need.
There we go. Well, okay, so predictions. If that game took place next year, let's say everything worked out the way that it was going to with Tom Izzo, what would you predict?
Michigan cuts down the nets next year in Detroit is my actual prediction. I love Tom Izzo. I'm a huge fan of his. Not only is he an incredible coach, but ambassador for the state for so very long. Yeah. I mean, he's made teams get into the NCAA tournament 29, 28 straight years in a row. That's incredible. So I've always admired him. But when Michigan plays Michigan State in the national championship next year in Detroit, we will be cutting down the nets.
We got it on tape here. Remember, we're going to play this back. All right. So just winding it down here. You have the Jalen Rose Academy in the city. You are an entrepreneur in the city. You have a successful entertainment company. You're building a second career in entertainment and business, an amazing job you're doing here. On the academy itself, your thoughts about education and for young Detroiters here, how do you think we're doing?
I think at JRLA in particular, that's what I could speak for. We're doing a terrific job of nurturing young people. The public school system overall for hundreds of years has failed inner city students. Yeah. As somebody that's a product of the Detroit public school system, I feel like I'm in position to say that. And so for JRLA to be a 9 through 16 model, we're influencing 400 young people while they're in high school. But the unique thing about our school is we also provide that support once they graduate. So we call it a 9 through 16 model or secondary education. So once you graduate from JRLA, whether you attend a 2-year, 4-year college, trade school, military, cosmetology, military, whatever they decide to get into, as a high school, we're still providing resources. And so that's very unique in the country, and we're really proud of that work.
When it comes to mentoring young people, this is all about what you're doing, and I know you've worked with Dave Bing, who's like your godfather. Yes. I don't know if he's legally your godfather or this is just a title, but he has mentored you through the years. You're mentoring so many young men and women with the academy and other things here. How do you think as a region we're doing it, helping to support and bring along young people?
It's all about time. Young people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's just the reality of it. And so when you invest in them, and you're patient with them, polite with them, you give them grace, the opportunity to express themselves freely and unapologetically, then you find a young person that really opens up and wants to tell you about the great things that they hope to do with their lives. And for me, it's always gratifying to see young people chase and pursue their dreams and make the sacrifices along the way. And that's really refreshing for the Detroit area, and I'm just applauding young people and their maturity now. The discipline that young people need to have as it relates to losing their innocence so early with social media and television, being exposed to sex, drugs, violence, gangs, it can be overwhelming. And so I'm really proud of the work that's being done at JRLA, but also I want to make sure I give a shout out to all of the leaders, the mentors, the teachers, the educators, the coaches out there, because those could be thankless jobs in a lot of ways. You hear a lot about the complaints, but sometimes you just don't hear the 2 words thank you or appreciate you. And so I just want to make sure that everybody out there who's influencing young people as leaders continue to stay encouraged.
Yeah. Jalen Rose, I can't thank you enough for taking time. So inspiring talking to you about all this stuff here. You're making a difference, my friend. Thank you so much for being here and all you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, take good care. There's more Michigan Matters to come. Don't touch that remote. We caught up with Brendan Kelly, new president of Eastern Michigan University, who talked about education being a university president, and more. So what's the new Eastern job? When you look at it, what do you see it entailing?
Well, look, being a university president is hard. Right? That's just the nature of the landscape in America right now. And if you're going to do hard things, let's do them in places that are really important to us personally. Our home state, our home university, those are important. And we have been given the gift and the privilege of filling our toolbox all over the country, leading other institutions. So coming back here and doing the type of work that's necessary for the transformation of higher education here just means more to us. Serving the students at that university is like serving a little part of ourselves.
Well, you're here. You're one of the new university presidents. At this conference, Michigan State's president announced he was leaving, and University of Michigan's president has health issues and announced he was leaving. And your thoughts about the Michigan State University president leaving? There had been reports that the board doubled the tuition or his salary to try to keep him and everything like that. Your thoughts about the Michigan State's president announcing he was leaving on the heels of everything that had been taking place up there?
Obviously I'm not directly involved in that situation, but I can say I work with presidents all over the United States. These jobs are incredibly, incredibly complicated. And the tenure of presidents has shortened dramatically over the last 15 years. And some of that is the result of challenges in governance. Some of it's the result of just the landscape generally. When we look at public university presidencies in America, average length of service now is just over 4 years. And while that seems like a short period of time, once you look at what the job entails, you go, wow, I'm surprised people lasted that long. So,
Eastern Michigan is in the shadow of University of Michigan, which is, a giant university, lots of students. Eastern trying to make its mark and set itself apart from what goes on there. I mean, the university, how do you see your role now as university president? You're taking the university into the future. How do you see your role on the heels of being so close to Michigan? There's a perception, it's like, maybe it's not quite as good as, the bigger university down the street. How do you combat that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't look at it as in the shadow. I look at having a university like U of M just as an asset for the state. Just the way when I was in Georgia, I was near Georgia Tech, it was just an asset for the state. And we all get a chance to draw off of the intellectual capital that's produced there. But we're talking about two totally different products. America is not educated at universities in Michigan. They're educated at regional comprehensive universities like EMU. And right now the playbook for us is very much everything is on the table because higher education is in a state of transformation, and us producing talent pipelines the way employers need to receive them is the critical mark. And we have a lot of change to do to make certain that we are meeting that mark. Institutions like ours have the capacity to be much more flexible and dynamic, to adapt to a changing economic landscape, to adapt to changing geography and demography in whatever region you're in. I intend to make certain that we are the best possible partner to southeastern Michigan and throughout the regional radius that we're located in, so that we can solve other people's problems. And some of the best ways that universities solve problems is producing talent the way employers need to receive it. And I've never served a student who didn't want to go and participate in the economy after graduation. So let's just focus on that as our central mission, connecting those dots and making certain that alignment is always there. And I think that the differentiation and distinction takes care of itself.
President Kelly, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Lots going on in higher education in Michigan here. It's not just a political situation up here on the island. It's university presidents coming and going. But you're here with us. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Take good care. There's a lot more Michigan Matters to come. Keep it right here. We heard from a bevy of top leaders at the conference who had their thoughts about a variety of issues. Why don't we just start there with data centers, because it's getting so much attention, not just here at the conference, but in communities all across Michigan. They've been around for a while. They're not new.
Yeah.
But they're getting a lot of negative publicity, is harming the environment, harming water, causing energy prices to rise. And what say you?
Well, I think we have to recognize that in some states in America, data centers have come in and they have caused bad issues. So if we look at the East Coast of the United States, they came in and where you have deregulation, they have caused power prices to go up. And there's a lot of misinformation because a lot of our news comes from the East Coast. But when you look at what the Michigan legislature put in place here, there's water restrictions. There's very clear rules on the way you can serve them from energy. You cannot cross-subsidize. And then the contracts that we've been negotiating with the large data centers have even stronger protections for our customers in them. So I think as a state, and especially in our small communities, we need to take a step back. We need to understand the truth and what's actually happening.
Why is it then that there's so much secrecy? These data centers come in and they're under a shroud of the secrecy. They don't want people to know who's involved, what's involved, what it's going to be. Why not just put it out there? And wouldn't that make this easier with consumers and watchdog groups who look and say, immediately their danders up when they hear about these?
Yeah. Well, I think the data centers are now, in the last month or 2 months, realize that they have to be a lot more transparent. We do a lot of renewable energy development inside of Michigan, and it's the same thing. We have a ground game, we call it. We have about 40 people that just start in communities 3 to 4 years before we try to develop a project, just to let them know what we're doing and to try to be really informative and to be very transparent with what we're doing. Data centers need to do the same thing.
What is it about education? And we keep talking about it, but when it comes to making improvements, it's tiptoeing. It's not moving.
Right.
Why?
I mean, education first, it's important because it's the greatest economic long-term lever that we have here, right, to help us grow our state, to grow incomes, to help people be successful, and to make sure that prosperity is widely shared, right, amongst folks. I think what we see here in Michigan, unfortunately, is that we've been 44th. We've been falling backwards for 20, 30 years here.
44th and
44th in overall and 44th in fourth grade reading, which is a statistic you're going to hear often, I think, in this conference. What it tells you is there's a whole bunch of states that are doing better than Michigan. States like Mississippi that used to be really, last in the nation have now gone to the top 10. States like Maryland, so it's red states, it's blue states that have figured this out. We've got to figure out what the Michigan solution is.
We know everyone's complaining about healthcare costs. The prices skyrocketing. I mean, families, individuals, it just goes up, up, up. On the flip side, your costs are going up too in what you're doing. I mean, healthcare has always been volatile. There's no doubt about that. But what's causing it to be more volatile at this time, do you think?
Well, what we really focused on over the last year is making sure when you say affordability, it's a really squishy term. And so what we've tried to do is break that down and make it very accessible. And when you think about getting that insurance premium that's going up, you need to understand what goes into it. 47 cents of every dollar that someone pays to us goes to hospitals. 25 cents goes to doctors. 8 cents goes to Blue Cross to pay claims, answer your calls, do those kind of things. And so we're talking about each of those segments and how they need to work better together, but then what each of the segments can do to make the whole system work better, because that's how we're going to address affordability.
Just appointed during the conference as chairwoman of the Michigan Travel Commission.
Yes.
In this new role, you're up here at the island. You have a lot of legislators and leaders, Lansing, to convince them the budget dollars for the Pure Michigan campaign, which is an issue, and some people want to get rid of it, saying it's not worth it, et cetera here. What's your message to them about that?
For every tax dollar that is put towards the Pure Michigan campaign, the state sees a return of over $10 in taxes with visitor spending. That is a nice investment to have back. So what we do for Travel Michigan and how we bring visitors to the state is important, not only for the pride of Michigan, but financially as well.
With the conversation about energy, conversion, renewables, other things, where do you think we are as a state in embracing new technologies and new ways of powering and energizing our systems?
Well, right now we're in a good spot. As I mentioned, when ITC was founded, we were founded on this belief that if you focus on transmission and have a good grid, it's almost if you build it, they will come. And that's what we've done. We've invested in the grid. And so we're finding that when there are economic opportunities and companies who want to come to Michigan, that the grid can handle it. So we're in a good spot now, but we are looking ahead. These lines take 7 to 10 years to build, and so we're looking forward. We're in the process of adding another 450 miles of new line, including our first interstate transmission line in over 50 years. So we're good, but you can't stop looking forward because you've got to be ready when they need it.
How important is AI to today's students? Because the technology is changing day by day. It's sort of like hard to plan for 6 months from now, let alone 6 years from now. So how important and how are we doing at helping to prepare young people?
You're right, Carol. It's a very quickly evolving technology. And universities and higher education has an obligation to prepare students for the workforce. And so that means we need to incorporate not only these emerging technologies, but a way of thinking about how we use these technologies in an ethical way. What are the limitations? What are the opportunities? And expose these opportunities and limitations to our students very early on so they know how to approach and leverage and harness the possibility of AI. Whether you're a philosophy major or whether you're a computer science major, all of our students need to have fundamental exposure and develop some competencies in this area.
Truly, autos and manufacturing is the top industry in the state here. The auto show, the Detroit Auto Show, is so important, been around forever. It's going through a transition, as we know, as all auto shows are going through a transition, as the industry has going through the challenges here. How do you think this upcoming show will differ, if at all, given the transition within the auto industry, the push to EVs, maybe not as much, more hybrids? I mean, how do you see it?
Well, the recalibration from the EV mandate has had a significant impact on our industry. For us to basically do a reset and pivot again to ICE vehicles has been a painful one. But all the same, we're going to keep moving. We're very flexible, if not just inventive crew of people and in our industry. So I expect we'll weather the storm just like every other challenge we faced in the past.
Small business is your thing. You have been a longtime champion for it. Up here at the policy, there's a lot of conversations about manufacturing and education. Small business owners, what's the number one issue before small business owners that you wish more people here in influential leadership positions knew about so they could help?
Well, and we're doing some things in these areas, but the number one issue, when we ask them, rank these by what's your biggest obstacle, it's still talent, and it's been talent for 4.5 years. Now, the interesting thing, Carol, is it used to be we can't get people we want. We're getting a bunch of applications. Now it's like we're not hiring, but we're still desperate for talent. So that says something about, and that's where it needs to start, the training and the education of our future workforce. And, I was just talking with the governor, and there are things that are being done, incremental steps, but we've got to get more people in the trades. We've got to get more certification program. All those things will get us people that we need. And small business doesn't grow without people.
Well, there you have it. That winds down our conversations on the island and the Mackinac Policy Conference. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next Sunday for more Michigan Matters.